Hi everyone, my name is Kevin Scott Searcy, and I identify as a twin flame, or in older terms, twin souls. Let me give you kind of a little bit of brief history about that. It kind of stems from one of the oldest religions of Hinduism. It is believed that um, back when we were, atoms and kind of first born, that we were a man and a woman, and we were split into two souls, a woman's soul and a man's soul, and through our atoms, that we could become divinely connected through our incarnation these days. Um, what's happening with me is about 5 years ago, I had a spiritual awakening. I started seeing 1111 a lot, and it made me curious. I was like, what the hell? What is 1111? And so I Googled it, and I found that it's one of the master angel numbers that basically means that you are about to receive a blessing. And about 6 months later, a girl crossed my path. Um, through this process, we have become twin flames. Basically, we are vibrating atoms that can communicate. She can communicate. It's a type of language. It's a type of communication. Um, Science says that there's string theory, that atoms and particles and molecules and everything vibrates, and through this through this energy that we have that surrounds us, this electromagnetic energy that surrounds us, um, is what makes it capable of us communicating. I could feel her in my heart. In my heart, I have what I believed years ago was her giving me her heart. I could feel another heart on this side. She can connect to me through my ribs. It is basically, we are at a distance. We are twin flames going through what's called a separation period, and we communicate that way. It is very rare, but it is very real. It happens to other people, but again, it is very rare. There's probably, I don't know the numbers, but maybe 1 million people worldwide. There may not even be that. It may be just a couple 100,000 people worldwide. But this isn't new. Um, it's a spiritual awakening that caused the divine powers that be to cause us to connect. Where I am, I've gone through for 5 years. I've gone through a lot of trauma. I don't want to go into details about the trauma, but basically, spiritual awakenings and twin flames and enlightened people and awakened people and empaths and light workers and star seeds all go through some kind of awakening phase in their life, and it is something that isn't isn't, people don't know a lot about it. There's no education on it. There's not a lot of education on it. There's not a general education on it unless you start becoming some enlightened person. Then you start questioning things, and you start researching things and stuff like that. There's been a lot of trauma, and it isn't. It's because of the lack of education. It's the lack of knowing what is really going on between two people that this happens to, which has given me a lot of time through the pain and a lot of time to research things and come up with, just kind of dissect how this happens, why this happens, where it comes from. So I've looked at the science side, I've looked at the religious side, I've watched videos. You could Google twin flames. You could watch videos on twin flames. There are lots of people that are experiencing this, and initially, initially in our initially it is thought to be, some kind of romantic connection between. It is higher than a soulmate. There's we identify out there as most people identify as like soulmates or stuff like that. This is a level higher. It's a divine intervention between two people to pair them up, to help them to share love and peace among this world. And So in my research of things, I have found the science side. I've listened to string theory, and I've listened to what Albert Einstein had to say about this. Albert Einstein, basically, this is quantum entanglement, where two particles could have the same properties at a distance and communicate to each other. And instantaneously we can communicate. She's communicating to me now as I'm making this video. She could change the temperatures, and I know this sounds crazy, but this is all the twin flames and all the empaths and all the awakened people and all the enlightened people out there. If you're listening to me and you've experienced your things, it's not crazy. She could change the temperatures of things. If it's cold, she's kind of telling me to chill, a little bit, because this is kind of my first attempt, not my first attempt at making a video to this. I've made a lot of other videos, but mostly, and I have them stored. I posted them once, I took them down, I have them stored, but I mostly had to deal with a lot of my trauma that was going on. So this is kind of my first attempt at trying to put together kind of a conclusion to all of this. And this isn't the way I wanted to make a video. This isn't, I think it's kind of sloppy here right now. I wanted to do things differently, so I'm just going to try to put together like a 20-minute brief video on this. And I've made some comments on Facebook, and it's kind of intrigued some people, and so I kind of wanted to elaborate a little bit on it. But I also, in looking at the science side of things, I've also looked at the religious side of things. And it makes you question God, it makes you question religion, it makes you question this type of undertaking, this type of enlightenment, this type of awakening. Makes you question everything. If you start researching into it, there's a lot of talk on twin flames that our communication right now, that what we are doing right now, is in the fifth dimension, a fifth dimensional state of consciousness. Enlightened people are awake people. They see things differently. All of your senses become peaked, and you develop like a sixth sense, so to speak. You just become aware of things, and then you can receive downloads of. Listen, we're all, in the big scheme of things, we're all spiritual beings connected to the cosmos. We are just one marble floating in a sea of billions and trillions of other marbles. We are just one solar system amongst billions of stars that have their own solar systems just in our own galaxy alone. And we're just having problems getting just to Mars. So we are starting to see a whole new world out there, and our way of thinking needs to start becoming more relative towards what it is that we are starting to find out about ourselves, starting to explore, starting to experience, starting to understand. So I'm going to touch a little bit of basis on religion. I'm not going to be able to get to everything in this video. I can make a series of videos on just individual topics. I'm hoping that this maybe comes across as genuine. I'm trying to be genuine. Part of becoming a twin flame or enlightened or awakened is technically, it's about shedding the ego, but a lot of people still have problems with being egotistical with it, because it kind of puts you a little bit on a higher pedestal. And this is not to like make ourselves feel better than the rest of the humans out there. What we are is I've come to the conclusion that we are superheroes. Now, it's not to say that your favorite musician or your favorite actor or your favorite doctor or your favorite teacher isn't the superhero in your life, or isn't the superhero of their own lives. Some of us are do get connected to a higher source that is meant to give us a mission in life to help humanity move forward. If you're a person living and breathing and talking today, we face a bunch of challenges. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We have problems with other countries. We have there are a lot of we have climate change. There are a lot of things that we face as humans, and so I want to give a brief kind of a thing to it. And I'm looking at my clock so I don't ramble on for too long, because I will literally go on for hours. It's again with this kind of additional sensory, you start to question things. So I questioned in my time of this separation through my twin flame and this trauma, and again I am still connected to this person permanently, even through trauma, even through hardships. It has made me question things. So let's take a look into God and religion just a little bit. I have questioned, okay, how did Jesus become connected to God? If you believe in the story of Jesus existing, Jesus was divinely connected to God in a lot of the same ways that me and my twin flame are connected, and it has to do with the fact that we are all spiritual beings connected to the cosmos, that are vibrating atoms that are in a electromagnetic field, that the whole universe is filled with this electromagnetism, and it's our way of connecting. We can connect that way. Certain people study it, certain people it happens to them naturally. So I've come to the conclusion that that would be the only way that the story of Jesus would be real. And the story of Jesus and his whole entourage, Moses, Jacob, John, Matthew, Luke, all of them that have stories within the Bible, this would be the only way that they would be connected to God. And so let's take a look at what God is. And I'm not the only one in making this video. I have watched other videos. I have listened to other people's videos. I've researched things. I've read articles. I've read posts. So this is. I'm not trying to steal anybody's ideas on this thing. I'm just coming up with my own collective, and this isn't exactly how I wanted to do the video, and I'd like to give credit to those. But I've watched videos on YouTube about twin flames and consciousness and higher levels of consciousness, and I mean, we have PhDs out there that believe that the universe is consciously alive, and if I was to put if I was to think of what God is, I would say that would be God, and that and how I think that is happening is through the electromagnetic fields, through either dark energy or dark matter. It has a lot to do with thinking that I made a comment that that evolution isn't has nothing to do with with whether religion exists or not. Religion is the guidance to our Creator, not necessarily the nature of our creation, and that God is evolving itself. We humans right now are, I believe, we are going through an evolutionary phase in our consciousness. We are starting to become more and more spiritually awakened, and it is because we are connected to the cosmos. That's where we came from. Whether you really want to believe it or not, this earth, the trees, dirt, the air, it all came from out there. And this whole thing that we have, that we've called the Big Bang, it is also theorized that it happens in cycles and it happens over trillions of years. I'm not going to be able to touch bases on everything in this video. But if I was to place what God is, listen, on our own money, on our own dollar bills, that we are so eager to go out here and collect. It says, "In God we trust." If we are going to build churches, if we are going to wear crosses, if we are going to put on our own money, "In God we trust," then we need to start having a better understanding of what God is and why we are here, and are we connected to God? How did Jesus connect to God? Technically, God is within you. If God is the creator of all of this, God created my fingernails and my hair, and God is within you. We are all a part of God through these vibrating atoms. And I believe that if the Big Bang does happen in cycles, that what's happening is each time it kind of happens, it's maybe growing and becoming more consciously aware each time it happens. The more living creatures on not just maybe our planet but other planets elevate their conscious, it's connected to the great consciousness out there that elevates itself. So it is believed that there are multiple levels of consciousness. Listen, we are three-dimensional beings living in a fourth dimension of time. Technically, if you start getting down into the conscious levels, there's 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe even more different levels of consciousness beings. It is thought that in a twin flames we kind of reside maybe in the fifth state of consciousness because of our level of communication. It is thought that maybe Jesus might have been in a sixth or seventh or maybe eighth level of state of consciousness. And that's not to say, oh my God, I'm one step away from Jesus. I should be ever so thankful that have been able to become a spiritual awakened person, being able to live a fifth dimensional state of consciousness. To get to those kinds of additional levels, you have to be pure. You have to let go of ego. You have to practice this stuff day in, day out. I don't practice it. For 5 years, I have not been able to really practice this. I don't meditate. I don't eat correctly. Sometimes I'll listen to trance kind of a music, but it has mostly created a voice for me, and it has made me question things that I will freaking dissect enough to try to figure out my own answers to. So, in not just Jesus, let's take like the Virgin Mary. Let's say, okay, the Catholics are heavily devoted towards worshiping the Virgin Mary. Let's take a brief segment into that. Mary gave birth to Jesus one of two ways. One, they had sex, which would be very likely. We were human beings then. That's how we, reproduced. Reproduction that involves sex was made millions of years ago. So in my research, a little bit of my research into like the Virgin Mary was that during that time, I didn't realize that she was very young. She was like 14, and so during that time, it was thought that if maybe the two people weren't married, that the woman, if she was pregnant, was impure and could be sentenced to death. It's interesting to think about our ways of thinking then, considering the fact that you have to have a woman and a man to give birth, and if you don't have sex, no matter how it happens, then it wouldn't populate the world. So it might have been protection, but let's say, for example, that these types of connections and these energies and these vibrating atoms, it has been researched that it can kill cancer. Can it create cells of birth? And that is why there is thought that the Virgin Mary was more divinely connected to God, because that Jesus was literally a miracle baby. She got impregnated by vibrating atoms. Whether there's any truth to that or not, considering it takes my seed, and I'm not trying to get into heavily description here on this video. I'm just pointing out facts. And so it's either one of those two ways. The pillars of religion. Now we have our own beliefs in whether religion exists or not, and in modern day religion there is dogma. Our own high religious leaders, it's a business of selling faith. Is basically what it is. It's a business of selling faith. But there's truth to that. The pillars that hold that up are true. It's just through translation it has been lost. It has been lost, and nobody really understands what it means anymore. And how I think that some of this stuff is that, listen, Hinduism is 6,000 years old, and they believed in frequencies. They believed in talking to God through frequencies. However, they also believed in polytheism, which is the belief in multiple gods. Shamans practiced healing 30,000 years ago. Of course, they a lot of times were drug induced, and I've recently engaged in some back and forth comments with somebody about drugs, and how it can, psychedelics you can reach higher levels of consciousness with psychedelics. It's very well known, but that's not the natural way that this is meant to take place. Jesus wasn't walking around taking LSD. There's a pure and divine way that this whole thing takes place. I'm trying to get to the point here. I don't know if I am, but I think a lot of it has to do with the electromagnetic field. I do believe that if there is life on other planets, if they are in an electromagnetic field, that is what connects them to God. They would have their very own Jesus. The pillars of what God is and how we connect to Him, and the religions that follow and practice that are universal across the entire universe. I believe there is thought there's thought that, okay, we humans, we haven't even reached a level 1 civilization. Technically, there has been thought that there are 4 different levels of civilization that we could reach. Level 1 would be using all the resources within your own planet, within your own Earth, your own planet. Level 2 would be using the resources within your solar system. Level 3 would be using resources within your own galaxy. Level 4 would be using the resources within multiple galaxies. If there and it is thought that we have, like, we're only at about 75% of a level 1 civilization. We need to get more involved into using our resources here on Earth to move humanity along, and we're doing that, with electric cars and using renewable energies and those kind of things. We're getting there, but to reach those levels, we also have to have an understanding of who we are, how we exist, and the possibilities of life out there and how they would evolve. And I truly believe in aliens. I believe, I've never seen a UFO, but I truly, given the law of averages out there, there has to be somebody else living. There has to be multiple other civilizations living out there, multiple other species living out there. We haven't found them yet, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist. And they, if UFOs are real and they're coming to Earth saying, "Hey, Earthlings, just letting y'all know we do exist," sooner or later you'll get to the realization that we're real, and you guys will find us. Um, but I think that and some of it could be that humanity doesn't even listen, with all of the stars out there that are suns, that have planets, that have solar systems, that have the possibility to create life. It is also thought that we could be hitting and missing, meaning we here on Earth, the time frame that we've lived here on Earth and have evolved, we haven't even been able to reach outside our own solar system. We look through telescopes, we send radio signals out there, but we haven't even been able to technically reach outside of our own solar system. And it could be the same within another solar system in our own galaxy. And they might not get a chance to, because they wipe themselves out because of their own self-destruction, or some kind of natural event. I don't want to go too much more deeper. I've already kind of rambled on a lot, and I'm trying to make this video short and sweet and simple, because I can go a lot further with all of this stuff. But this kind of what I'm getting to is that this connection that me and my twin flame have, all the other, like, empaths and awakened people, and no matter who or what you are, or what senses, or what signs you're seeing, you all have your own superpowers. And just like Batman and Superman and Spider-Man and Wonder Woman, you all have different degrees of your superpowers. We can't snap our fingers and light and a fire to happen. We can't can't shoot webs and fly, but we have our own realistic human being mystical superpowers. And there's another video that I watched, and it's called the Theosophical Society, and on YouTube. Watch those videos, because it's a lot of, like, psychologists and PhDs and on all of this stuff that have really studied it. This whole thing is called mysticism. Even Jesus, the what Jesus had, the connection to God, it's called mysticism. And we're all capable of doing it. However, we're all not. It may not happen to everybody. And I call it the box of woo woo. Everyone says, "Oh, I'm seeing these signs, or I'm reading these tarot cards, or I'm listening to this type of music," us as a society and culture, we all put that in some woo-woo box. Like, "Oh my God, that's crazy. That sounds like crazy stuff." That box of woo-woo is real. It is real stuff that really happens to people Real people experience pain through it. Real people have questions. Real people lose support. Real people lose friends and family and friendships and relationships through it because of our social and cultural misunderstanding of mysticism. And one of the guys on the video calls it practical mysticism, and it's something that we should start learning to practice is practical mysticism in this world. When you guys watch YouTube videos, stop clicking on like the clickbait ones, you know. And I know I do the same, but watch like the older, like PhDs or something, sit there and do like an hour-long lecture on things, because you'll find out that there are people, educating, and there is a scholastic way of viewing this, of what really happens. It's not just science or religion. It's in between. It's everything. It's a combination of both. Science, even Albert Einstein said that science without religion would be boring. Science needs religion, and religion needs science. Science proves that religion is real, and religion needs science to back up that religion's real. Um, so you all have your own like superpowers, and what we're supposed to do in these, and whether you're a twin flame, whether you communicate through vibrating atoms, or whether you have some extra sensory skills, you're all a superhero. And use your skills, and don't let people call you crazy. Don't let people that is what the 99% of culture and society thinks. And we're so lost in translation. We don't know what God is anymore. So we're like, I don't freaking know, so I'm just gonna live my life. This gives you an eye-opening experience of what God might be. And I'm not saying that I'm 100% correct, but I'm also not 100% wrong. I have also looked at this thing as what God isn't. Let's take the evil things that happen along this in this world. I just recently, and this is why I think that electromagnetic field has a lot to do with it. I was reading someone's post, and I'd like to share it on my Facebook page, and hopefully I will. I was reading it, and he said places that don't have electromagnetic fields are evil. And I think that that's where evil lies, because this electromagnetic field that we live into doesn't just point us north. It connects us to the cosmos. It enlightens us. It awakens us. It is what enables us